The Devil's Sooty Brother. A disbanded soldier had nothing to live on and did not know how to get on. So he went out into the forest, and when he had walked for a short time, he met a little man who was, however, the devil. The little man said to him, "What ails you? You seem to be so very sorrowful." Then the soldier said, "I am hungry, but have no money." The devil said, "If you will hire yourself to me, and be my serving man, you shall have enough for all your life. You shall serve me for 7 years, and after that you shall again be free. But one thing I must tell you, and that is, you must not wash, comb, or trim yourself, or cut your hair or nails, or wipe the water from your eyes." The soldier said, "All right, if there is no help for it," and went off with the little man, who straightway led him down into hell. Then he told him what he had to do. He was to poke the fire under the kettles wherein the hell broth was stewing, keep the house clean, drive all the sweepings behind the doors, and see that everything was in order. But if he once peeped into the kettles, it would go ill with him. The soldier said, "Good, I will take care." And then the old devil went out again on his wanderings, and the soldier entered upon his new duties, made the fire, and swept the dirt well behind the doors, just as he had been bidden. When the old devil came back again, he looked to see if all had been done, appeared satisfied, and went forth a second time. The soldier now took a good look on every side. The kettles were standing all round hell, with a mighty fire below them, and inside they were boiling and sputtering. He would have given anything to look inside them, if the devil had not so particularly forbidden him. At last he could no longer restrain himself, slightly raised the lid of the first kettle, and peeped in, and there he saw his former corporal shut in. "Aha, old bird," said he, "do I meet you here? You once had me in your power, now I have you." And he quickly let the lid fall, poked the fire, and added a fresh log. After that, he went to the second kettle, raised its lid also a little, and peeped in. His former ensign was in that. "Aha, old bird, so I find you here. You once had me in your power, now I have you." He closed the lid again, and fetched yet another log to make it really hot. Then he wanted to see who might be sitting up in the third kettle. It was actually a general. "Aha, old bird, do I meet you here? Once you had me in your power, now I have you." And he fetched the bellows and made hell-fire blaze right under him. So he did his work 7 years in hell, did not wash, comb, or trim himself, or cut his hair or nails, or wash the water out of his eyes. And the 7 years seemed so short to him that he thought he had only been half a year. Now when the time had fully gone by, the devil came and said, "Well, Hans, what have you done?" "I poked the fire under the kettles, and I have swept all the dirt well behind the doors." "But you have peeped into the kettles as well. It is lucky for you that you added fresh logs to them, or else your life would have been forfeited. Now that your time is up, until you go home again?" "Yes," said the soldier, "I should very much like to see what my father is doing at home." The devil said, "In order that you may receive the wages you have earned, go and fill your knapsack full of the sweepings, and take it home with you. You must also go unwashed, uncombed, with long hair on your head and beard, and with uncut nails and dim eyes, and when you are asked whence you come, you must say, 'From hell.' And when you are asked who you are to say, 'The devil's sooty brother, and my king as well.'" The soldier held his peace, and did as the devil bade, but he was not at all satisfied with his wages. Then as soon as he was up in the forest again, he took his knapsack from his back to empty it, but on opening it, the sweepings had become pure gold. "I should never have expected that," said he, and was well pleased, and entered the town. The landlord was standing in front of the inn, and when he saw the soldier approaching, he was terrified, because Hans looked so terrible, worse than a scarecrow. He called to him and asked, "Whence comest thou?" "From hell." "Who art thou?" "The devil's sooty brother, and my king as well." Then the host would not let him enter, but when Hans showed him the gold, he came in and latched the door himself. Hans then ordered the best room in attendance, and ate and drank his fill, but neither washed nor combed himself as the devil had bidden him, and at last lay down to sleep. But the knapsack full of gold remained before the eyes of the landlord, and left him no peace, and during the night he crept in and stole it away. Next morning, however, when Hans got up and wanted to pay the landlord and travel further, behold, his knapsack was gone. But he soon composed himself, and thought, "Thou hast been unfortunate from no fault of thine own," and straightway went back again to hell, complained of his misfortune to the old devil, and begged for his help. The devil said, "Seat yourself. I will wash, comb, and trim you. cut your hair and nails, and wash your eyes for you." And when he had done with him, he gave him the knapsack back again full of sweepings, and said, "Go and tell the landlord that he must return you your money, or else I will come and fetch him, and he shall poke the fire in your place." Hans went up and said to the landlord, "Thou hast stolen my money. If thou dost not return it, thou shalt go down to hell in my place, and wilt look as horrible as I." Then the landlord gave him the money, and more besides, only begging him to keep it secret, and Hans was now a rich man. He set out on his way home to his father, bought himself a shabby smock frock to wear, and strolled about making music, for he had learned to do that while he was with the devil in hell. There was, however, an old king in that country, before whom he had to play, and the king was so delighted with his playing that he promised him his eldest daughter in marriage. But when she heard that she was to be married to a common fellow in a smock frock, she said, "Rather than do that, I would go in the deepest water." Then the king gave him the youngest, who was quite willing to do it please her father. And thus the devil's sooty brother got the king's daughter, and when the aged king died, the whole kingdom likewise. The Willow Wren and the Bear. Once in summertime, the bear and the wolf were walking in the forest, and the bear heard a bird singing so beautifully that he said, "Brother Wolf, what bird is that sings so well?" "That is the king of birds," said the wolf, "before whom we must bow down." It was, however, in reality, the willow wren. "If that's the case," said the bear, "I should very much like to see his royal palace. Come, take me thither." "That is not done quite as you seem to think," said the wolf. "You must wait until the queen comes." Soon afterwards the queen arrived with some food in her beak, and the lord king came too, and they began to feed their young ones. The bear would have liked to go at once, but the wolf held him back by the sleeve and said, "No, you must wait until the lord and lady queen have gone away again." So they observed the hole in which was the nest, and trotted away. The bear, however, could not rest until he had seen the royal palace, and when a short time had passed, again went to it. The king and queen had just flown out, so he peeped in and saw 5 or 6 young ones lying in it. "Is that the royal palace?" cried the bear. "It is a wretched palace, and you are not king's children, you are disreputable children." When the young wrens heard that, they were frightfully angry and screamed, "No, that we are not. Our parents are honest people. Bear, thou wilt have to pay for that." The bear and the wolf grew uneasy, and turned back and went into their holes. The young willow wrens, however, continued to cry and scream, and when their parents again brought food, they said, "We will not so much as touch one fly's leg. No, not if we are dying of hunger, until you have settled whether we are respectable children or not. The bear has been here and has insulted us." Then the old king said, "Be easy, he shall be punished." And he at once flew with the queen to the bear's cave, and called in, "Old growler, why hast thou insulted my children? Thou shalt suffer for it. We will punish thee by a bloody war." Thus war was announced to the bear, and all 4-footed animals were summoned to take part in it: oxen, asses, cows, deer, and every other animal the earth contained. And the willow wren summoned everything which flew in the air, not only birds, large and small, but midges and hornets, bees and flies had to come. When the time came for the war to begin, the willow wren sent out spies to discover who was the enemy's commander-in-chief. The gnat, who was the most crafty, flew into the forest where the enemy was assembled, and hid herself beneath the leaf of the tree where the watchword was to be given. There stood the bear, and he called the fox before him, and said, "Fox, thou art the most cunning of all animals. Thou shalt be general and lead us." "Good," said the fox, "but what signal shall we agree upon?" No one knew that, so the fox said, "I have a fine long bushy tail, which almost looks like a plume of red feathers. When I lift my tail up quite high, all is going well, and you must charge. But if I let it hang down, run away as fast as you can." When the gnat heard that, she flew away again and revealed everything, with the greatest minuteness, to the willow wren. When day broke and the battle was to begin, all the 4-footed animals came running up with such a noise that the earth trembled. The willow wren also came flying through the air with his army, with such a humming and whirring and swarming that everyone was uneasy and afraid, and on both sides they advanced against each other. But the willow wren sent down the hornet, with orders to get beneath the fox's tail, and sting with all his might. When the fox felt the first sting, he started so that he drew up one leg with the pain, but he bore it, and still kept his tail high in the air. At the second sting, he was forced to put it down for a moment. At the third, he could hold out no longer and screamed out and put his tail between his legs. When the animals saw that, they thought all was lost and began to fly, each into his hole, and the birds had won the battle. Then the king and queen flew home to their children and cried, "Children, rejoice, eat and drink to your heart's content. We have won the battle." But the young wrens said, "We will not eat yet. The bear must come to the nest and beg for pardon and say that we are honorable children before we will do that." Then the willow wren flew to the bear's hole and cried, "Growler, thou art to come to the nest to my children and beg their pardon, or else every rib of thy body shall be broken." So the bear crept thither in the greatest fear and begged their pardon. And now at last the young wrens were satisfied, and sat down together and ate and drank and made merry till quite late into the night.